Alright guys, so today we're going to be working on research in my absence. This lesson is mostly going to be for the 6th grade because they've never done this before. 7th and 8th grade, this is a review for you, but go ahead and give a listen and make sure that you're on the right track. If you really feel like you already know this, you can go ahead and jump ahead and get started with working. So let's begin by talking about how you had some different options for how you were going to gather your own research. The choices were either here to do a survey, some of you chose to do an interview, and some of you, well, I don't know if anyone chose to do an experiment, but that was an option. Pretty much everyone decided to go with the survey with a few exceptions. If for some reason you did decide to do the interview or the experiment, then you can pretty much stop listening at this point and spend your class time today working on your interview or your experiment. If you did the survey, that's what we're going to go ahead and talk about today. So we kind of went through the ethics of the survey. So we're gonna go ahead to compiling your results. I left the surveys here. They're on the table for each of you who gave me a survey. So you're going to go ahead and compile your results today. So what that means is you're going to take your individual responses and you're going to put them into data or numbers. So you'll get a blank copy of your own survey. If you don't have a blank copy of your own survey, then you need to go ahead and just draw one out on a piece of paper. Not a big deal. It doesn't have to look pretty, but you need a blank copy with the questions that you asked everybody. Okay, so then what you'll do is you will use tally marks to record the number of times a response was given on your survey. So for example, pretend your first question said, have you ever been out of the country? And each individual was allowed to check the box. They either checked yes or no or I don't know. Well, what you're going to do is you're going to go through each survey. The first survey said yes, so you'll put one tally mark there. The next survey said no, so you put one tally mark there. The third survey you got said yes, so you put another tally mark there. So instead of checking these boxes as an individual would do, you're just going to go ahead and tally each time you got that response. So once I've gotten all my surveys, and I can look at this whole complete picture and I could see when I asked, have you ever been out of the country, I can very quickly look and I can see that 13 kids said yes, 5 kids said no, and 3 kids said, I don't know. Alright, so that's pretty much the easiest way. So that's the first part of your assignment today, is to go through all your surveys and tally them up and figure out how many of each answer your respondents reported. Then you're going to report your findings in 2 ways. You're going to create a graph to represent that information, and then you're going to write a brief description of the information contained in the graph. So before you even go into this, go ahead and pause this and do this part first, where you're going to tally your results. Alright, so go ahead and pause this, and then when you have finished tallying your results, you can come back to this video. Okay, so assuming that you've gone through and tallied, now you're going to go ahead and, as I mentioned, you're going to make your graphs, and then you're going to write your description. So let's take a look at what that's going to look like. So say your question was, how many hours per day do you watch TV? You're going to make some type of nice graph. Now I'm using pie charts here. You do not have to use pie charts. There are a lot of different options, but you're just going to use a type here, okay? And it's going to report your information. Then you're going to write a corresponding paragraph that goes with it. So here's the data portion, and then I said, Thomas surveying classmates about the amount of TV they watch. Here's the graph that explains the results from question 1, how many hours of TV do you watch per day? The graph is self-explanatory, but a good researcher is thorough and leaves nothing to chance. To make sure the information is clear, Tom will write a descriptive paragraph that explains to the reader exactly what information should be understood. So there may be someone out here who doesn't understand how to read this. So here is what Tom writes. In a survey, 6th grade students were asked, how many hours of television do you watch per day on average? The fewest group of students, 22.2%, see that's there, reported that they watch 1 or fewer hours per day. A larger group, 33.3%, reported that they watched between 2 and 3 hours on average. The largest group of students, representing 44.4% of students, right here, watched 4 or 5 hours of television per day. So you can see that this paragraph, this whole thing, basically explains exactly what this is. You're just really spelling it out for somebody. So to break it down into your descriptive paragraph, here's the actual formula. Step 1, tell the reader how the question was asked, as in by a survey. Next, you tell them who was asked, as in 6th graders. And then you tell them what was asked, and that's the question. So a survey, how, asked 6th grade students, who, and then what. Then you finish that sentence with whatever you asked. Then your step 2, you report your findings in order. You can either go largest to smallest, or you can go smallest to largest. It doesn't matter, but you need to, when you write that paragraph, it needs to make sense. Okay? And then step 3, know your number rules. Never start a sentence with a number. So you never start a sentence by saying 3 students said. That's incorrect. A sentence should always start with a word and not a number. Also, when you're writing numbers, if you have 1, then you write out 1, as in O-N-E, 1. If you have 2, you write out 2. And if you have 3, you write out 3. Typically speaking, and again, this is one of those rules that different professors may have a preference for, but typically speaking, anything more than 3, you go ahead and you use a number. Okay? That's my rule. Like I said, some teachers may, it's one of those things that there are a couple acceptable ways of doing it. But for me, generally speaking, you spell out numbers 1 through 3. That includes 0. And then anything above that, you go ahead and use a digit for. All right, so here's one to practice together. How many siblings do you have? Here are the number of responses. Nobody said 16.3 said they had no siblings. 24.5 said they had 1 sibling. You can see how that works. So then you tell the reader how the question was asked, who was asked, and what was asked. So your sentence formula is: a survey, that's the how, a survey asked 21 7th grade students, that's the who. How many siblings do you have? That's the what. Alright, then you report those findings in order. Again, don't care if you go smallest to largest, so that would be here, 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 or if you go here, 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 here. It doesn't matter, it just needs to make some sort of sense. And then last but not least, know your number rules. Okay, so if you say 21 students, you put a 2 and a 1. But if you say 3 students, you put a THREE there. Okay, so this is what we're working on in class today. Good luck, and you can play back this video at any time. If you need additional clarification, I would suggest you maybe leave it open to this tab, because this kind of gives you your explanation for how you can follow this formula. So now let's very quickly look at how we're going to actually make the graph. I went ahead and jumped ahead here, so I'm going to Google Drive, and this time I'm going to use a new Google Sheet. This is the spreadsheet version that Google uses. So go ahead and pause this video and catch up to where you've opened this. So now we're going to go ahead and make our chart. I'm in spreadsheet here. So go ahead and skip the first line and start with the second line. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put the choices here. And then you're going to want to put the responses here. Okay? So if the question was, how many siblings do you have? The choices might have been no siblings, 1 sibling, 2 sibling, 3 siblings. Okay? It might be something like that. You can sort of play around with that. Of course, yours is going to be different. But if your question was, who's your favorite superhero? Then again, your choices, the choices they had to choose from go here, right? So that's what goes there. The responses you get go here. 16 kids said this. 8 kids said this. 2 kids said flash. Okay? Something like that. So the choices are in this column, and then the responses are in that column. You're gonna want to go ahead and highlight this section. Again, highlighting row 1 but leaving row 1 blank. And I'm going to insert a chart. And when I go to charts, you're going to see that you have a lot of different options to choose from. When I went into that, I was at the start button here. It gives you sort of some recommended charts, so you could just go right from here if you wanted, or you could go ahead and click this. You can look at all these different choices. So I might say, ooh, this one looks pretty, whatever I want to do, and I go ahead and I pick that. Okay. So once you choose the chart you want, you say insert. Once you have inserted this chart, you can edit it a little bit. It tells you to click on the parts you want to edit. So I can click here, and then what I need to do is the title of this chart needs to be whatever the question was. So if the question was, who is your favorite superhero? And really, if I'm doing things properly, I would actually, it's a title, so I would make sure that I capitalize it as if it's a title. So press enter to apply, and in each time you do something, it doesn't automatically, you have to actually hit enter to apply it, okay? So now that part's done. If for some reason this comes out weird and I want to edit this in some way, I can move this around. I can make it go this way. You know, you have some different options in here. But anyways, so that's how you do this. This is how you make your chart. Okay. We will end up cutting and pasting these charts directly out of here onto your research document. All right. So for right now, you just need to create your charts. I think that's everything that you need to get started. Go ahead and start playing around with it. Do your best. And of course, I'll be back and I can help you with anything that is not super clear. But this will be the class time that you have to work on this portion of it. And then, of course, you are expected to spend about 30 minutes a week outside of class finishing this up. All right? I think that's it. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye.